Well, good afternoon, guys. It is late in the day on Monday, and I'm really just now probably getting into my second or third hour of work. Rained all morning. It was just kind of crap weather. And yeah, so now we're out here, and it is warm and humid. It's about 80 degrees out with a good bit of humidity in the air. So nice welcome to summer if that's what's happening here. So what I did for the first couple hours, I ended up putting the last of the boards that I had that were planed, and I had to route some more grooves in. So I kind of knocked that out. I had 5 or 6 boards that were still left on the stack that had been planed. So I knocked those out real quick, and I've almost enclosed 2 sides of the cabin. So I want to, and that's, well, let me back up a minute. That's where that's going to stay right now. So I'm not going to plane or prep any more stuff to go on siding here until I get further along on cabin 2. So that's where we're at. We're at here at cabin 2. You can see my laser is set up right there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put, basically I'm going to start building my piers out. Okay, so if you recall from cabins 1 and 3, what I do, I put down a asphalt, piece of asphalt sheeting, a shingle, asphalt shingle, put it down. Then I put my termite shield down. It's a little piece of aluminum, and then a Simpson bracket goes on top of that, and that's where that inside of that Simpson bracket is where my skids actually reside and what gets bolted down and stuff like that. So what I want to do here today, I want to get the shingle down, I want to get the bug shield down, and then I want to break out the laser, which is already set up and spinning. I want to look and see how much shimming I have to do between the piers. So that's kind of what we're going to do today. So let's get into that. I'm pretty well prepared. I don't think I have to run back up to the house for much. So we'll get right into it. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm going to show this to you again. I know I've shown it on the cabins 1 and 3, but I want to just make sure everybody's on the same page. So what I was just explaining to you before, I use this is one tab of an asphalt shingle, and then this is my aluminum termite shield. So this will sit down over everything here, and supposedly this stops termites from climbing up. We'll see. So I basically just try and center this shingle over the concrete, not necessarily over the pin, because this pin here, this is pin number 6. So this one was the one that was not quite set off. Maybe it looks like maybe an inch and a half, if that. So I try and center this on the pier the best I can, and then I just hammer on top of the pin. And all that does is just make a weak spot in it there, and that allows for that pin to come through. Okay, so at this point now you can either use your hammer to kind of go around and break it off at the same diameter as the pier itself, or you could just push down. This depends on how cold it is out. I find if it's kind of cooler out, these break pretty easily. Now it is, because this one here is off center, the pin, this shingle that's on here has a specific direction on which it has to sit. So like this line here, this tar line, it's pointing right at pier number 3. So watch, I'll try and explain this to you a little better. So now, if I was to turn this, it's not over the pier any longer. So I just point that where it was originally pointed at, kind of clean off some of the edges. Okay, and that's how that will sit. Now, I do the same exact thing for the termite shield. This is a little more, the tolerance is a lot less, because this is a 14-inch wide piece of aluminum, and it has a 2-inch fold on each side. So you do the math, that's 2 and 4, so that leaves a 10-inch cross section here. So it's got to be pretty close to centered. Again, not centered on the pin, but centered on the pier. But it's the same process. Again, if you're off by a little bit, nobody's going to lose their job. Again, I try and keep it square to the rest of the structure. So as I'm tapping this, it'd be better if I didn't have my framing hammer with me. If it had a flat head, in fact, I'll probably just use the side of my hammer. So all that does, it actually bangs the aluminum so thin that it just breaks through. And you can try and push on it a little bit, maybe. Probably sharp. There we go. See how it's busting out? This little flap came out. That is much thinner than how it started. Now again, this is no different than the shingle. This now has a direction on which it needs to sit because this one was off center. So there we go. Pretty darn close. Maybe a 1/4 inch off on this side. And that's that. So now my Simpson bracket sits on top of this. Okay, this is the Simpson bracket that I use for all my cabins. This is to fit, this is a post base. This will fit an actual 6x6. So if you're buying any type of brackets like that, they generally come in 2 sizes, a nominal size and then an actual size. So if you went out and bought a 6x6 post, it's not going to be actually 6x6 inches. It's going to be like 5 1/4 or 5 1/2 by 5 1/2 or 5 1/4, something like that. But because I have 2x6s, 4 of them that are going to be stacked up side by side, each one is 1.5 inches. So 4 times 1.5 inches is 6. So I needed an actual 6x6 post base. So how this works, this goes over it has a kind of a cutout in the bottom that the peg goes through, and it's not just specifically a round peg hole. It has some space to where if you had to move it, I mean, it looks like you get maybe an inch, maybe an inch of play. So your pins don't need to be dead set perfect. You know, obviously the closer the better, but that allows this to have some movement and some play when setting up your layout. So that goes down. There's a piece that comes with it, like a washer, a kind of a heavy duty washer, and then a bolt that came with the anchor pin goes on top of that. So then what my skids actually rest on is this plate here. This came with the bracket. So this plate will sit right here square, and the post will sit on, or the skids will actually sit on this. This is where I generally add some shims. So I have more asphalt shingles that I break down into little squares, and then if I need to come up 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch, I put down a little piece of asphalt shingle. So you can see that this now, it wobbles on top of here. So in order for that to sit down fully inside the bracket itself, I've got to cut this down a little bit. Okay, because right now it's pivoting on the top. I hope you can see that on the video. So it looks like I'll take off maybe 1/4 inch off of the top here. I'll just get my grinder, lop off a piece, and then it'll sit down square. It's at that point now that I have that bracket on that bolt that I will use my laser level to check for level across the whole setup. Okay? So let me get to working on these, and we'll get to the point where everything is sitting and ready to go to be lasered. just saw me take my laser here and get the heights off of each one of these tops, and you're really not going to believe this. At least I don't. This one has to come up an 1/8. This one has to come up a 1/16. This one's got to go down a 1/16, and this one has to go up a 1/16. That one was dead level, and this was my starting point here, this one back here. So all in all, an absolute smashing success with trying to get these pretty leveled out. Now, it is going to vary a little bit in that when I bolt these down and add pressure to those brackets, it will collapse into the termite shield a little bit and the shingle a little bit. So, but we're talking, I mean, maybe a 1/16 of an inch or something like that. So once I get them lined up, because what I have to do now before I bolt them down, or I should say in the process of bolting them down, I've got to make sure that this U part of it is all lined up, because when I put my skids in there, they all have to be lined up. So that's kind of, you know, we got to work on that as we start to bolt them down. And I'm probably going to wait maybe a little bit longer. This concrete's still pretty new, so I don't know what the rules are as far as putting pressure on them and stuff, but obviously once I get the skids on there, I can't have access to those bolts that hold them down anymore. So once I bolt them down, that's it. I will not see those bolts again. Okay, well, that is probably where we're going to leave it. Again, this absolutely turned out fantastic. So tomorrow I might be down here taking apart my pallet here and getting some of the lumber out and organized. I could need to get some sawhorses down here. Need to get like a little work area established so I can start to assemble some of this stuff that's got to go down. Because these skids, the skids that are across here are 20 feet across, I think. I can't remember. I have to look at my plans. So it's 4 2x6s made up to make a 20-foot long span. So, or 4 wide. So it's certainly not light. And I'm racking my brain about how I did it before, because those other ones in the first and third cabin are longer than these are here. This cabin is deeper. But yeah, I'll probably work on a little bit of this tomorrow. We'll see. It's going to be weather dependent. It's hit or miss. I'm out here late today, so yeah, we got to do what we got to do. Sign off for the day, though. I wanted to show you kind of how far I got here with cabin 1 and getting the siding on. So if you remember the other day, I was stopped probably just beyond this center post here. So I got another 5 feet or so of interior sheeting up. So it looks great, and again, we're super excited about how this is turning out. Probably going to take off these supports here pretty soon. I occasionally come down and shake the cabin just to check its stability, and it is really rock solid right now. And I don't see any more purpose to have these cross members up. So yeah, so it's coming together. Before you know it, I'll be working on the back there and closing things in. We managed to knock that out pretty quickly here. It's not even 6 o'clock yet as I'm looking at my phone. So yeah, although not really a super productive day, we got some stuff done. It's all stuff that needs to get done, and it's just, you know, it's that big elephant. You're taking one bite at a time, and you know, it's happening. So yeah, listen, hey, I appreciate y'all hanging out. We're getting so close to that 1,000 subscriber threshold, and we're looking forward to hitting that and seeing what happens next. So listen, from us here at the Lazy T, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on the next one.